They might not be the most glamorous weapons in the game, but the assault rifle category has also spent a significant amount of time as the top dogs of the meta, with the likes of the one-shot VF7S and Adelig both warping what's expected of a build's long-range DPS, setting the standards incredibly high. As of Skills 2.0 and the expanded COP armor system, these one-shot machines are a thing of the past, unless you double down into ammo bags. As a result, from the ashes rise the now oft-forgotten mid-damage weapon type, which suddenly hits all the right notes. Now 2 shots is the gold standard. We can take that mindset and double down on the efficiency front, actually finding ways to turn these workhorses into lethal weapons, with armor stripping, optimized penetration values, and abuse the infamous ammo funnel skill to roll back the clock to when we were edging our way to the bank. Whilst ARs aren't as flashy as their infinite damage marksman rifle counterparts, nor are they as simple to pick up and play as shotguns and SMGs, but what they are some of the most satisfying build types in the game once you nail the maths behind it, cutting down assault waves with a unique ease and grace. This is how I would optimize assault rifles for Skills 2.0, part of a series of similar builds across all the core playstyles I could come up with. Enjoy one of the dark horses of this new build paradigm. So although the assault rifle build is far from my flashiest, it is probably the one I'm proudest of, because it requires the most sort of insight into the deeper game mechanics that haven't been very well explained by Starbreeze at the moment. Let's start off, as most good builds do, in the soldier tree, with the Commando skill line aimed at assault rifles, where we ace out riflemen. This is an amazing skill, the reload speed is going to be amazing, and we're actually going to get a hell of a lot of value out of the penetration effect as well. More on that in just a second. Stockpile assault we ace out. ARs can have an ammo issue from time to time. I don't think this is necessary, but we do want to move up the tree. Similar idea with focus fire. Accuracy is not a huge issue in Payday 3, I find. Most weapons fire pretty much where I'm aiming, compared to Payday 2 where they can be all over the place. This is a nice enough skill, and mostly it's here to augment riflemen at the cheapest point cost available, and we want to avoid picking up breaking point, which is effectively a useless skill right now. It should not be resetting on kill. Hollow point rounds is going to be very useful. It's going to help us hit those 2 or sometimes 3 shot kill thresholds depending on the enemy type and the range. And then ammo funnel we also ace out. As you might have seen on some of my other builds, I don't think this is a necessary skill anymore. I think assault rifles do fine with riflemen alone because they reload so quickly. However, there is some value, especially when you're looking to hit really high 1, 2 shot, 3 shot kill breakpoints, and then go ammo positive with these weapons. It does reduce the number of times you need to reload. It does make your ammo economy a little bit more consistent thanks to the pickup from a distance. More important than anything, again, it allows me to avoid breaking point, and it gives me 10 points in this line, which stacks riflemen up to that 1 point of penetration. You want it to be giving you round value. So if your weapon has 1 pen and you want it to go to 2, you want those 10 points of pen. Similar, if it has 1.5, you want those 0.5 points of pen. If that makes sense, the Commando skill line is a little bit complicated, but this is how I'd run it, and it certainly works with our weapon of choice. Moving over to Juggernaut, we are actually quite lean on this one for once. We go extra protection, armored up 1, and then armored up 2 aced. I would love the extra charges, but because of another skill we're going to pick up over in Grenadier, we sadly have to drop these 2 points. You could switch up the build, you could switch up the armor and still run those extra plates, but I think armored up 2 is really where the source is at, where that instant armor heal is at, so that's why I've gone this way around. And then Beast of Burden and Bastion are pretty much standard to every single build that can feasibly pick them up. Like I said, we want Scavenger with this setup. We're not going to have any specific throwable pickup option, and so having that 5% chance on every single ammo bag we pick up is useful, especially with ammo funnel giving us those immediately into our inventory. There is some old classic ammo funnel replenish synergy there. Moving over to our throwable of choice. We could go mechanic. Shot grenades feel pretty nice, and they also do the armor stripping, which would help us against bulldozers, an area of struggle I think for assault rifles. However, the idea behind this build is to go for sunburn, because this is how we're going to get our one-shot kills. So we ace out Shine On. We grab Stockpile aced, we grab a single point in Flash Mob. Stockpile is useful when you don't have regenerating grenades, by the way. Hypersensitive basic, we'd like to have it ace, but for the most part, the enemies we kill, they will be dying before the stun runs out anyway. Spotlight aced, this is again to help with the ammo economy problem, and the mark effect is going to be very useful. It's basically how the aced effect applies, and then Sunburn. This is going to strip enemy armor. In many cases, it's actually going to put them in a one-shot kill range, which is kind of crazy when you see the weapon of choice. This is the little flashbang package I would recommend. It feels so good in this build. Although they're not auto-replenishable, hopefully you have enough scavenger luck to make it work. Now, the final 5 points go in a slightly strange place. We go calling, shotgun, and point blank. That is because this is the first build I've done that is genuinely hybrid, in that we're using both a shotgun secondary and we're using an assault rifle primary. ARs have an issue against bulldozers, shotguns certainly do not. Point blank helps even further with that. Now, the Justicar is currently bugged and doing lower damage than it should be at close range. That means there's a really awkward sweet spot between 2 and 3 meters you want to stand in when fighting them to get the bonus from the shotgun skill from point blank. However, even without it, the Justicar will still deal with bulldozers much faster than the Ku-59, which is why we use it to augment this setup. It's a similar idea with the HET5 Red Fox. As I already mentioned though, we are running the AK-47 or Ku-59 in this game with the extended mag. Extended mags feel really good now, our reload speed is faster, and we're going to get a little more out of ammo funnel thanks to it. This is the way I would set it up. This weapon, like I say, has very limited pen, but it does a hell of a lot of damage, and the way this build is crafted, we can kind of counteract that. Trip laser, armor bag, flashbang, you know this basically from every build I run and from my skills, but then we run something slightly unusual in the mercenary frame. And this is why I feel comfortable dropping a few armor plates, because we're running the mercenary frame with a single impact plate at the end. The idea is, although this impacts our plate regen and takes a down away, we don't really rely on those things with this setup. And this is a regenerating 2-second immunity with this frame right now, which feels very good. Sometimes you do just want that 4-plate instant recharge, but other times I think it's well worth having this outside plate that is constantly going to give you some value throughout the heist, even if you're not fully plating up. It's sort of an experiment for right now. I think it's powerful in this build. I want you guys to try that and let me know. Let's jump into the gameplay and see exactly how it looks. Okay, as promised in my Skills 2.0 discussion video, we need to talk about AR penetration, because it's particularly relevant when builds are generally set around trying to hit certain pen breakpoints to avoid armor altogether. Each weapon is different, but generally falls into one of a few categories. High damage, high pen, such as the old one-shot monsters like the Adelig and VF7S, low damage, high pen, some of the more consistent ARs like the Car-4 and Northwest, and high damage low pen like the Ku-59, the weapon I'm running in this build. Now for the most part, the way the system is designed, high pen weapons don't benefit a ton from stacking up more penetration. For example, the VF7S starts with 2.5, meaning it can at best reach 3.7 with AR skills alone, and so doesn't reach the key 4.0 breakpoint for light SWATs. That's why stacking rifleman skill points doesn't always make a huge difference in the AR's time to kill. However, for something like the Ku-59, which hits like a truck but has low base pen at 1.0, we can make an impact. That high base damage can go to work shredding cop armor like an SMG might, whilst with 10 points in the branch we can hit 2.0 pen, enough to, for example, 2-shot light SWATs, bringing it on par with those damage and pen monsters like the VF7S, but with generally superior handling stats to compensate for the dev's expectation that it'll have a slower time to kill. That's why this build works so well, especially when we're cutting down cop armor in an instant with flashbangs, enabling it to do things like one-shot kill and constantly proc ammo funnel, making it feel even better to use. That's why when committing heavily to AR skills, I'd rather use a weapon that benefits from that passive pen, instead of those points going into the abyss, hence my call for this build, and why I'd rather use something like the Northwest on more of a generalist tank setup with less commitment to the core AR playstyle. In general, assault rifles still feel pretty decent, despite losing a bit of their effective niche as fully auto one-shot killers. However, they do have a massive issue. A lot of their damage is backloaded into their headshot multiplier. This means you're rewarded for playing them in an accurate and efficient way, which is convenient because headshots into armor aren't even working properly right now if you can't break the penetration threshold. However, when you run into an enemy like the dozer, who you can't directly headshot, you run up against a wall. These things are terrible at removing their visors, and with Breaking Point in its current state offering nothing of tangible value, being the only skill in the Commando branch this build skips out on, we really don't have an alternative to just shoving the barrel in their faceplate and praying. Flashbangs, our throwable of choice for that one-shot potential with armor stripping, don't even help here when compared to the armor shred of something like a stun grenade. Fortunately, this build has a couple of contingencies for dozers specifically, the first being the simplest. Just use the Red Fox, dummy. This thing got even better against dozers in Skills 2.0, being able to two-shot them now, so long as you have that headshot accuracy. It's the best pure damage dealing overkill weapon in the game and can seriously rescue assault rifle builds, which feel so consistent against everything other than dozers. What if you're caught short though? Well, that's why I'm running a shotgun secondary in the Justicar, in addition to a 5-point investment in the mechanic tree for point blank. With just it and calling shotgun, we can blast dozers into oblivion far faster than the poor AK ever could. Just try to remember to keep your spacing in that 2 to 3 meter radius, as for whatever reason, the Justicar's extremely close range damage is bugged and dealing less than it should be. Even with this in mind, you can expect to take out a dozer in just a single reload, all but fully compensating for the AR's core drawback and giving this setup utility against pretty much everything, and set to only get stronger once those issues are addressed. As I said at the start of the video, assault rifles are now some of the least glamorous weapons under the new Skills 2.0 system, which is ironic when they still have access to ammo funnel, a very contentious skill in the past. They generally feel pretty decent even without much skill investment, meaning you do have to think long and hard about really committing to the playstyle. This particular setup actually gets a ton of value out of the tree's bonus pen and reload speed, hitting breakpoints that wouldn't be possible otherwise, whilst also compensating for the weapon category's few drawbacks in the process. It's a really satisfying build that I've actually put a lot of thought into, so I hope you can get some use out of it online. This series is drawing closer to the end now. Remember, the entire playlist is there for your viewing pleasure, including a total of 14 builds if we count the 2 stealth ones. Thank you so much for the support so far, take care, and I'll see you all very soon. A huge thank you to my dedicated Patreon backers. If you want to join this crew in going infamous, check out the link below and pledge as little as $2 to see your name in the credits, or get 24-hour early access to future videos and vote on upcoming content. Take care, I'll see you all soon.